doesn't love a good top 10 list? However, unlike some pageant awards, I'm not going to make pretend that this top 10 list is based on any objective qualification or objective criteria. This is a completely arbitrary list of my top 10 queens for 2021 based on the impact that they had on me. This is not in any particular order, and it's just based on my personal opinion and the impact that this queen has had on me. Good? So here we go. Number 10, Olivia Harris, Miss World Wales 2021. Now, Olivia is a bit of the surprise package on this list, even for myself, simply because I didn't know. We had her on the podcast. I didn't know she was so young. I think she's only 19 now. So when we had her on, she might have been 18. But she is fun-loving, down-to-earth, and she just seems like a really lovely, down-to-earth person. So she went over to Miss World to compete in Puerto Rico. Obviously, Miss World got postponed to March of next year. But it's just been refreshing to me to see someone who's relatively new to the pageant world and hasn't succumbed to the pageant stereotypes and just having a really good time and seems like a genuinely nice person. So she's in our number 10 spot. Number 9, Christina Chalk, Miss Universe Great Britain first runner-up 2021. I interviewed Christina a couple of weeks or a few weeks before Miss Universe Great Britain, and I didn't know her at all beforehand. The only reason I connected with her was when I was asking my podcast co-host, Danielle Latimer, who she thought the favorites for Miss Universe GB were. One of the people that she mentioned as a very strong contender was Christina. And obviously what I did, as you do, you go and do a good Instagram stalk and you have a look. And I was sort of taken by the fact that not only, okay, she's a quintessential, beautiful brunette, well-spoken, but she has some serious credentials going on behind the scenes in terms of her career and self-esteem queens. And then after I interviewed Christina, we talked about all sorts of things. It became really clear to me that she had a really good sense of humor and she's really, really able to laugh at herself. Famously or infamously, she'll go down as the first person to drop the F-bomb on our podcast, and I don't think she even realized it. But that's a Scott for you. Number 8, Brittany Dickson, Miss Eco Angel 2020. Now, Brittany was also Miss Earth Australia 2020. Sounds crazy. I get mixed up with the years because of COVID. The first time, I've only actually met Brittany twice, even though she's an Australian queen. And the first time I met her was to interview her in person. And this was the first in-person interview I'd done in probably 2 years. And I was immediately taken by how authentic, you could describe her as quintessentially Australian or Aussie, but how down to earth she was. She's someone who has become a very good friend and is someone who really lives her advocacy. One of my big pet peeves is performative advocacy, which is where, you start a hashtag and you pretend you're doing a lot of work, but all you're doing is dropping a hashtag on your Instagram post. I really, really hate that. But Brittany is a true green queen, a true eco queen. And she lives her advocacy. Even in her actual career, she's helping promote through wildlife a healthier and greener planet for the future. And Brittany, if you're watching this, yes, I will include you in my next book. Number 7, Saartje Langstraat, Miss Earth Netherlands 2021. First off, Saartje, I hope I pronounced your surname correctly. I still don't have the Dutch accent down. When I interviewed Saartje, I think she might have been the first Miss Earth queen I interviewed for this year, as in the running for Miss Earth. And again, it's one of those situations where I had no idea she was so young. I think she's 20. But when I spoke to her, she had the wisdom of, and seemingly the life experience and that outlook of someone who's much, much older. Yet she also has that enthusiasm of someone who's much, much younger. She's another woman who lives her advocacy. She loves vintage shopping. She sews her own clothes. She even made some of her own outfits for the Miss Earth competition. And we talked about other such weird and wonderful things, such as stroopwafels, her favorite dessert. She's a young woman who is really living her advocacy. She's got a really bright future ahead. So look to see more from her in the pageant world in upcoming years. She's only 20, and she said she wants to kind of have a break to sort of grow and get more life experience, which I think is absolutely the right decision. Number 6, Gizzelle Ace, Miss Eco International 2020. Now, I've known Gizzelle for a long time. some may say for too long a time. But why I've put Gizzelle on this list is because recently I decided, I took a big step for next year, for 2022. I actually wanted to read the Bible. Now, that's for personal reasons. It's been on my list as a thing I wanted to do for a long time. But in the crazy world we're living in, I was struggling for a bit of guidance. And I thought, well, there's this good book called the Bible, and as a Christian, maybe I should read it. And Gizzelle, as a practicing Christian, we've gotten to talk a lot about religion, values, some of the issues we've seen in the world, not just in pageantry. And I really, really come to enjoy our discussions and even sort of our opinions on maybe what's going on in this world and some of the things that we can do to fix it. So she's kind of an old friend, but I'm seeing her in a new light because of the discussions that we've had. And, you know, whenever we jump on a Zoom call, it's at least an hour, if not 2, sometimes 3 hours. And it never fails to be amusing because she is at the same time a 3-year-old and an 83-year-old. And Gizzelle, if you're watching this, you know exactly what I mean. Number 5, Cecilie Dissing, Miss Earth Denmark 2021. If you watched my interview with Cecilie and went, what the hell is going on? I really don't blame you at all, because at the beginning, like the first 10 or 15 minutes of any interview is kind of feeling the person out, trying to build a common ground, build rapport, so that you can have a really great interview. You need the person to open up. So first 10 or 15 minutes, but if you skip to about 10, minute 15, that's when Cecilie mentions ADD, ADHD, which is what she has, and this concept of neurodivergency. And it was about that time that she was talking about being a neurodivergent. I went, hang on, the way you're describing the way you think is exactly the way that I think. But I always thought I was just weird, or I thought I was the only one. I'll never forget, she asked me, oh, do you ever forget something and become obsessed with it? And I said, yes, I forget a song lyric, and then for the next hour or so, or the next day, whatever it is, I can't think of anything else until I remember what that lyric is. But I said the weird thing is, to remember that lyric, I just start saying random words like beef, bologna, cat, brick, brown. And I never knew why, but it would kind of help me remember the thing that I'd forgotten. And she went, oh my God, that's what I do too. But because she has synesthesia, which is where the senses basically get mixed up, she said she says words, I think she said sound the same or taste the same. So what it was, that were words that were stored in a similar part of the brain as to the thing I've forgotten. And she did exactly the same thing as I did. Now, I got to give a huge shout out to Cecilie for introducing me to this concept of neurodivergency and the fact that I may very well be one. And ever since then, it's really opened my eyes to not judging myself as harshly for some of the things that I do that no one else does. Also, she is super cool, rides a motorcycle, a retro motorcycle, loves vinyl records, and has like a black all-leather matrix suit for her bike. It's super cool. And again, she's going to be featuring in my upcoming book. So huge shout out to her. Number 4, Savannah Bethea, Miss Earth South Carolina 2021. Often when I look at a pageant girl's account, you got to understand 90% of them look the same. You know, it's crown photo, crown photo, crown photo, bikini photo, crown photo, caption from a pop song, crown photo, sash photo, etc., etc., etc. What immediately grabbed me about Savannah was actually her artistry. She's a visual artist, but also the sculpting. She does it with welding. Now, that's not a particularly, I've done a little bit of welding back in my uni days. That's not a particularly, let's say, feminine hobby or feminine occupation. So that immediately caught my eye. Also, she looked a lot like my other friend, Savannah Miles, who's from Georgia, which is relatively close to South Carolina. So then I just reached out to her, said, hey, are you interested in interviewing? And ever since then, even though it's only been a couple of weeks, it's completely mind-blowing to me how much we've had in common. But coming up to Miss Earth USA in a week, I don't think I've ever met anyone who has such a solid work ethic and is so willing to sacrifice for a title because she wants it so much. I mean, the girl basically sacrificed her entire Christmas this year. So she stayed away from friends and family because she didn't want to risk getting COVID, because that's how committed she is to competing at Miss Earth USA. So if pageants were judged purely on work ethic, there's your winner right there. She's genuine, she's down to earth. That may be a Southern thing. I've seen aspects to her personality that are a bit quirky and very, very funny, but more so than anything else, she seems like a really genuine person. She is a really genuine person, but she's put in so much work into her pageant journey. it's really been inspiring because it's the complete opposite of performative advocacy, the one I mentioned before, just to see someone who's willing to sacrifice so much for her dream title. Number 3, Emma Rose Collingridge, Miss Universe GB 2021 and Top 16 Miss Universe 2021. Emma was sitting on that couch behind me, maybe I think it's 2 years ago, and she's one of my best friends, if not my best friend in the entire pageant world. And she's someone who, again, I can vibe with on so many things, whether it's about pageantry or sitting down on the couch to binge watch Netflix. By the way, Emma, the new season of Titans on Netflix, it's good. Watch it. When she won Miss Universe Great Britain 2021, she wasn't expecting it. She was thinking it was going to be a 2 or 3 year journey. And because she had mentioned that to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Let's prepare for the 2 to 3 year journey. And then she won it the first time. She was surprised. And as I mentioned to her, I was surprised too. And then she went over to Miss Universe and completely rocked it in Israel and got top 16. Only blonde, I believe, in the top 16 at that event. The thing with Emma is that I know she's been through a lot of CRAP in the pageant world. She's gone through more than her fair share of haters and bullying, sometimes from inside the pageant world, sometimes from outside. And I just love it. Well, I really love it when the right sort of person wins, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, oh, you were the hater. All those haters out there, all those people, you thought you were so much better than me. Look at what I've achieved. And it's sort of, you know, it's proof to me that if you're a good person and you stick to your guns, eventually quality will rise to the top. And all those people who hated you, they will either kind of disappear or they will suddenly be your best friends. But to me, it's always really, really nice when one of my friends, obviously, but I feel like the right person wins, because then I'm really comfortable holding them up as a genuine role model. Number 2, Nadia Sayers, Miss Universe Ireland 2020. I couldn't do a top 10 list of my favorite queens without including Nadia Sayers on it. Nadia is, again, one of those people who I am super comfortable holding up as a role model to other young women in the pageant industry. If you've seen the photo that I've posted up 1 billion times of her and her fairy wings, this is who I'm talking about. Nadia is someone who works so hard, is so very real, and this will illustrate her character more than anything else. During Miss Universe Internationals, when you are so busy, she took the time to respond to, or at the very least hit the heart icon to pretty much every single comment and DM she got on her social media. Now, I know a metric ton of queens who will just say, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I'm not going to respond to you. Some of them won't even interact with you. If you drop comments underneath their posts, they famously just will never respond to you. And I really dislike that. It's like they're going, oh, you're not worthy of my time to respond to you. So, you know, you've invested all this time following me, supporting me, but I'm not going to interact with you. And I really, really dislike that, because if we're going to grow the pageant industry, we need our role models, our figureheads, to really engage with the young women and men as well, so that they go, oh, pageant girls, they're really, really lovely people. Look at her, she's interacting with me. I want to continue supporting pageantry. And that's Nadia in a nutshell. She's an amazing person, works in mental health, and she's just that sort of friend, I believe, that you know they're always going to be there for you no matter what. And I've seen proof positive of that. And she's another one who will be in my upcoming book. All right, before we get to the number 1 queen, again, this is arbitrary, my favorite queen for 2021. If you haven't already, click the link below in the description to the Pageant Sorority. You can sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get a weekly newsletter filled with tips from the best in the industry. And also, if you join up as a VIP, which costs $9 a month, you get a free pageant course delivered to your inbox every week. So, that being said, drum roll please. Number 1 is Marisa Paige Butler, Miss Earth USA 2021 and Miss Earth Air 2021. I can't really give enough superlatives to talk about Marisa. Similar to Nadia, I am super comfortable holding Marisa up as a role model as to what young women in the pageant industry can hope or aspire to achieve or to be one day. I'm not saying be Marisa, But I'm saying, look at how hard she works, how many obstacles she's overcome, how she always turns up on time, super professional, working with her sponsors, working with the directorship team. And then recently, if you've seen, I posted a link to it, the article that came out on Gizzelle about the difficulty she'd had with the Miss World America system. That takes a lot of guts as a pageant queen to speak out about something that's gone wrong in the industry. And I should know because I call it out when I see it. And I don't really like it. Like, I get a bit heart in mouth sort of thing whenever I comment on something that I dislike. But I'm not a competing pageant queen, so I don't have to worry about that blowback. Someone like Marisa does, and yet she still called it out. And as soon as I saw that article drop, I messaged her and I said, this is why I respect you the most out of anyone in the pageant industry, because you stand up for what you believe in. She's also just released a book, Milo Saves the Earth. Milo Saves the World, Milo Saves the Earth, and then recently got engaged. But if you saw how she did at Miss Earth, you saw the work that she put in, not only how she looked, but the effort she went to create videos all around the United States to showcase her country and her advocacy in the best way possible. How much work she put in, I could tell, because when we did our press junket after Miss Earth, I could see her yawning in the background of Zoom. No one else saw that, and Marisa, I'm sorry that I mentioned it, but I could just see her yawning like you wouldn't believe I was worried she was going to dislocate her jaw. But she is an amazing role model for young women everywhere. And, you know, sadly, if this is the last that we're going to see of her in her pageant journey, that's a real shame, but I really hope that she stays around in the pageant industry for a long, long time. So that's my list of top 10 completely arbitrary queens for 2021. Again, my personal bias, that is the only criteria here. If you have a top 10 list, or you feel like there's someone that I should have put on the list, even though it's my list, but if you feel there's someone who belongs on the list, or you have a top 10 list, let me know in the comments below and I'll be sure to check it out, because I'd really love to know who you look up to most in the pageant space. It is a very personal topic, but it's also super interesting to me. What to you makes a queen stand out? And can you narrow it down to a top 10 list? Hopefully based on more than, oh, I'm from so-and-so country and she's representing my country, so therefore I like her. I'd like to have a bit more of a nuanced discussion than that. But let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.